Welcome everyone to the show One Incense Stick, stories I tell about ghosts. Thank you all so much for supporting the first episode of One Incense Stick, for watching and sharing, so that today I and the crew have more motivation to produce the next episodes and tell you all about these extremely interesting and captivating spiritual stories. And today, look at this. With this setting, with grass, with trees, I want to send you all a spiritual story related to tree ghosts. People often say, wherever there are many trees, that's where ghosts are. And it's simple to understand, really. Any place that's damp, where there's a lot of negative spiritual energy that makes you feel creepy, that makes you feel chills all over, naturally, that place will have moss, wild grass, wild plants growing all over it. If you notice, on grave mounds, earthen burial mounds of the deceased, grass often grows too. It's like that. And our elders often say, if at night you're traveling somewhere far and there's no toilet and you happen to need to pee, then choose a clean place to go. Avoid places that are damp, cold, with moss and weeds. Why? Because those places have negative energy, wandering spirits residing there in great numbers. If you go there, it's like walking into someone's house while they're living there. When you finish peeing, they'll follow you out and haunt you, affecting your life. Constant illness, work not going smoothly. That's one piece of travel wisdom I'm sharing with all of you. And any place with too many trees, you won't be able to sleep well there. At night, your sleep will be restless, tossing and turning, unable to sleep soundly, startling awake. The next morning, when you wake up, you'll definitely feel exhausted. That's because the place has negative spiritual energy. That's looking at it from a spiritual perspective. From a scientific view, there's also a reason. At night, trees release a lot of CO2. If you sleep under too many trees, you won't have enough oxygen for your body to absorb. So you'll also feel very tired, sleep restlessly, unable to sleep through the night. So for example, if you wish someone sweet dreams, but they're the type who wants restless sleep and to keep startling awake, just choose a place with lots of trees to sleep. They'll definitely keep waking up. Today, I will tell you all a story related to ghosts and trees. Combine those two things together and it's called Makai. Tree ghosts. Tree ghosts can be simply understood as a tree somewhere that has a ghost's soul. It was passing by and deposited its spirit into the tree, then clings to it and lives on it. You can see that the trees most likely to absorb ghosts into them are bamboo groves at the edge of the village, or banyan trees, or ancient trees, or trees that have lived for many years with very large trunks or very wide canopies. But the story I'm about to tell doesn't relate to wandering ghosts depositing themselves onto trees. This is a type of tree ghost in a different form. One incense stick for us to prepare to tell a story about tree ghosts. Wait, where's the lighter? Oh, okay. Found the lighter box down here. So much stuff, you guys. Here's the lighter box. The fragrant incense is burning. The story is about to begin. This tree ghost story takes place in the Mekong Delta River region, a land we call rich alluvial soil, fertile and abundant, able to grow many types of fruit. Our character in this story is Ongbe, Uncle Seven. Ongbe had a small orchard. Although it was just a small garden, the trees inside were very lush, bearing lots of fruit. Not wrong fruit, but many fruits. Not wrong, as in incorrect, okay? Very many fruits. The fruit was delicious. Every harvest season, Ong Bey sold a huge amount of fruit that his orchard provided. His orchard was so good that it started attracting thieves. These thieves would sneak into the orchard and steal all his fruit, causing major losses. Ong Bey was furious, so he had to hire a young man to help him with the orchard work and guard it at night to prevent these thieves. This young man's name was Jong. He did odd jobs for people. Whatever anyone asked him to do, whatever anyone hired him for, he'd do it. Now, Jong wasn't very smart, but he was hardworking. That means whatever you asked him to do, he'd do exactly that, very effectively. For work like watering plants or staying in the orchard to guard at night, it was very suitable for Jong. During the day, Jong would help Ong Bey water all the fruit trees in the orchard. And he was curious why Ong Bey didn't use fertilizer. Because when people grow coconuts, surely you have to use fertilizer and such for the plants to grow well. But Ong Bey specifically didn't use fertilizer. He asked him about it, and Ong Bey replied, "Because this soil is already too good. It has too many nutrients. We don't need to use fertilizer anymore. Saves money. So I just let the soil be natural." That's what he said, so Jong listened. Yes, during the day, he'd prune leaves, water the plants, harvest the fruit that had ripened, and at night, he'd sleep over to guard. When sleeping at night, he had a tent like this to guard from. And tonight was Jong's first night sleeping at Ong Bey's orchard. Tonight, the wind rustled Jauzak. The trees kept swaying in the wind, shaking, moving, rustling, Jauzak, Jauzak, Jauzak. Being a country boy, he wasn't too scared of these phenomena. He lay in his tent, looking out at the dark, misty expanse of the orchard. As he was looking to see if anything strange was happening, suddenly he startled. There was a whole hand that fell down right in front of him. When he looked closely, actually, it was just a piece of wood shaped like a hand. He threw the wood away. He was too tense. He decided to step out of the tent. He walked around slowly, ton-tan, in Ong Bey's orchard. At night, walking around like that, the wind kept rustling, Zauzak, Zauzak. It was cool and cold, cool and cold. After walking a while, he discovered a footprint in the mud. He thought there was a thief because this footprint was very fresh. In the mud, he grabbed a piece of firewood. He held that piece of firewood, that hand-shaped wood, and followed the footprints. When he looked at the footprints, they were strange. One footprint was clear, but the other footprint kept dragging, like this person was limping. Looking at the footprints, he could imagine how this person walked. One foot stepping, one foot dragging. He followed about 10 footprints. Then suddenly, the footprints disappeared. He wondered, this isn't a dead end, so why did the footprints vanish? He looked left, looked right, saw nothing unusual. Then he looked up. Suddenly, someone from above jumped down and tackled him, knocking him unconscious. The next morning, he woke up to the sound of whispering, "Si, so, si, so." Neighbors crowding around Ong Bey's orchard. Too many people. They discovered a young man buried in a pile of mud, with snails stuffed in his mouth, crabs, fish, all sorts of random nonsense stuffed in there. Very fortunately, this guy didn't die. People pulled him out, removed everything from his throat. They questioned him and learned that the guy buried down there was the thief. A thief who was also drunk. He stumbled into Ong Bey's orchard, tripped and sprained his ankle, so that's why he limped. And people started spreading rumors loudly. Ong Bei's orchard is haunted because there's a ghost. That's why the thief got dirt stuffed in his mouth. Ong Bei was furious. He dragged Jong out and confronted everyone. If my orchard is haunted, then why does Jong sleep here and not get dirt stuffed in his mouth, but the drunk thief gets dirt stuffed in his mouth? That guy was drunk, so he doesn't even understand why. Maybe he was so drunk, he stuffed dirt in his own mouth himself. Thanks to that reasoning, people no longer suspected Ong Bei's orchard. But Jong himself was still worried. He kept following Ong Bei, asking, "Ong Bei, is our orchard really haunted, Ong Bei?" Ong Bei cursed him. "You're crazy. You're imagining things. Listen to me. You better guard my orchard properly. Listen, if a thief steals even one fruit, I'll deduct that fruit from your salary." Liu Hon Jo, he turned and walked away. After a few steps, he turned back, looked at him, and said, "Listen here. At night, if you see anything strange, just stay still in your tent, okay? Don't step outside." He thought. He didn't understand why Ong Bei added that sentence. He was still pondering it in his head, hadn't figured it out yet, when Ong Bei called him, "Now go clean up those wild grass patches growing in my orchard. They're growing all messy." So he hurried off to clear the grass. He stopped thinking about it. The second night sleeping at Ong Bei's orchard. Tonight was suddenly different from the night before. There wasn't a single breeze, no rustling of leaves. Instead, there was the sound of insects buzzing, vove vove vove, chirping, riu reet riu reet riu reet. Occasionally, there was the sound of a dog howling. People say, if someone's house has a dog, and you see the dog looking outside the door in the middle of the night and it howls, there's a ghost standing in front of the house. So if anyone has a dog that occasionally exhibits that behavior, it's best not to open the door, okay? As for Jong, he lay still in his tent, not daring to step outside. He stayed inside and looked out to see. First, if there were any more thieves. Second, if there was anything strange like Ong Bei had mentioned. He kept looking far into the distance, sasham, sasham, sasham. Far away, he suddenly spotted a patch of grass. And he wondered, this patch of grass, he had cut it down this morning. He had harvested it, pulled it all out cleanly. But suddenly now it had grown back again. He was so annoyed, he crawled out of the tent and approached that grass patch. The closer he got, the clearer the shapes became. Actually, it wasn't grass. It was hands. Hands growing up from the mud, writhing and twisting. Quan kwe quan keet, grotesque, beckoning guak guak guak, coiling like this. Just looking at it gave you goosebumps. He was so scared, he bolted back to his tent, standing frozen stiff like a statue. Suddenly the wind blew up, making the trees sway. The trees shook very strangely. Then he heard footsteps treading on leaves. Ranrak, 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 the footsteps got clearer and clearer, like someone was approaching his tent. Then he peeked and looked around the tent. He saw a black shadow walking around his tent, circling it round and round like this. He watched the direction of the shadow's movement. He didn't dare move, didn't dare stir, didn't dare make any sound at all. Then suddenly, that black shadow grew bigger and bigger, larger and larger, too. Then suddenly, it covered his tent and he was engulfed in darkness. The next morning, he woke up and discovered he was sleeping on a tree. After this incident, he concluded, definitely, Ong Bei's orchard is haunted. So he ran to Ong Bei and reported, "Oh my God, Ong Bei, your orchard has ghosts. Your orchard is haunted." Ong Bei cursed him again. "You're so crazy. You're imagining too much. How can my orchard have ghosts? If there were ghosts, how could my fruit trees be so lush? Usually, if a place has ghosts, you can't do business. But my orchard, if it had ghosts, how could the fruit trees be so healthy? Listen to me. Don't spread nonsense or I'll fire you." But now firing him wasn't possible. And Zhong wanting to quit also wasn't possible. Because Zhong owed Ong Bei money. So he was forced to work for the following days until his debt was paid off. But this time, he learned his lesson. He went up to the head of the village where there was a communal house. Inside was an elder who kept the communal house. This elder had experience with spiritual matters, so he gave Zhong a switch rod. And this rod was made from mulberry wood. Folk belief says mulberry wood can strike ghosts and demons. He gave it to him like a kind of defensive weapon for the following nights of sleep. And this was the third night sleeping at Ong Bei's orchard. He lay still, not daring to move, not daring to stir. His hand gripped the rod tightly. He stared far into the quiet dark space of the orchard. He started hearing rustling sounds. But listening carefully, actually, it wasn't the rustling of leaves. It was the whispering of a crowd of people talking about something or other. Then it stopped. They stopped talking. Suddenly a mango fruit fell onto his tent roof. He thought, well, the mango ripened and fell onto the tent. Nothing strange. Then came the second fruit, the third fruit, then a whole series of other fruits simultaneously pelting his tent. Oh my God, he was so scared. He burst out of the tent and stepped outside, holding that rod. He started whipping quat-quat. Wherever he whipped, there was a stream. He whipped for a while until the rod broke. Suddenly, the trees stopped screaming because there was no more whipping hitting their trunks. The trees started shaking extremely violently, like some kind of sound echoing vang vang, laughing ha 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 ha, echoing vang 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 vang. This drove Zhong nearly insane. He ran inside, grabbed an axe and started chopping. He chopped down all the trees. He was too crazy, too scared. He was forced to chop down the trees randomly. When he chopped, blood spurted out from the tree trunks. Trees don't have blood, so this guy determined these trees had become demons. So he chopped with certainty, chopped very frantically. Chat, chat, ki chat, chopped down all of Ong Bei's trees. Some trees he even dug up the roots, uprooted them completely, yanked the whole tree root system up. He chopped all night long like a madman. He kept chopping. Finished one tree, chopped to the next. Wherever he chopped, blood came out. He chopped down all these trees, destroyed everything, wrecked everything, ruined everything. And that was the whole third night. The next morning, Zhong was completely exhausted, lying in a pile of chaos. All the trees he had chopped down. People started rushing over, talking excitedly, because the entire orchard of Ong Bei was devastated. Not a single tree left alive. Ong Bei stepped out, looked at his orchard, was shocked and fainted immediately. At that moment, Zhong lay still, saying nothing. He didn't remember anything or think about anything. He just saw person after person, neighbors, local residents. People came in to clear away the trees he had chopped down. And when people cleaned up the chopped trees, it was normal. They no longer saw blood like he had seen the night before. Obviously, it was very strange. Until they got to the stumps that Jong had uprooted. People pulled out the whole tree stumps, yanked out the roots. Then people discovered an earth-shattering truth. Beneath the trees, in the layers of soil, were corpses. So many corpses. Some corpses had decomposed to just bones. Some corpses still had flesh, grotesque, clinging to the bones. And some corpses, the hands of those corpses were gripping the roots tightly like this, as if their lives could never escape these trees. Gripping, 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 gripping. The corpses kept gripping tightly into the roots. So at that point, the neighbors not only had to clear away the tree debris, but also had to clear away so many dead bodies. Now people dragged Ong Bey out to investigate. Then Ong Bey confessed. This land of his used to be cemetery land, a place where poor people who didn't have land to bury their dead would just bury them there. The graves were just covered with dirt, not sealed with cement or anything. An abandoned cemetery with no one to worship or care for it at all. When he bought this land, he should have properly handled the graves and tombs. But no, he said it was too expensive. To handle these graves properly, to call people to dig them up and move them, it costs a lot of money. So instead, he just dumped more dirt on top and planted trees right on top of people's graves and tombs. And he even calculated that the corpses lying below could help his trees grow well. And one of the reasons the soil didn't need fertilizer was because the corpses decomposed into organic matter that fed the trees the fruits. The flesh so delicious, oh so delicious, the flesh so sweet, oh so sweet, that he sold to everyone were extracted from the dead. And from then on, people no longer bought fruit or any product from Ong Bey anymore, because people feared that everything he made came from the dead. So he couldn't sell anything anymore. Gradually later on, he became like he was insane. He'd randomly cry out, randomly moan. He was scared. He said that someone from underground kept pulling at his legs, like the dead people below wanted to pull him down there with them. And he went mad. As for Jong, people gave him a nickname, the hero of the tree ghosts, because his honest nature, his simple honesty, helped those dead people below have the opportunity to be dug up, taken to the temple to wait for the day of liberation rites, instead of being buried there forever without anyone ever knowing that those corpses lay beneath the ground. And seeing that honest nature, so lovable, so pleasant, so hardworking of Jong, everyone created job opportunities for him. He would have a brighter and happier future. And the story ends here. That's it. Finished. Exactly one incense stick. Still exactly one incense stick. You guys. I hope that through this tree ghost story, with this one incense stick in my program, everyone will pay more careful attention, live more aware, knowing what's ahead and behind, knowing what's inside and outside. Because in our lives, there's always a spiritual world existing in parallel. Maybe there are people who live by materialist ideology, who live by scientific theory. They won't believe or pay attention to these spiritual stories. Then consider this, just an entertaining story. Listen to it for entertainment, to experience different emotions, joy, anger, love, and fear. But those who live by idealism, through this story, we can also draw many lessons. And I think each person will have their own reflections about this story. Thank you all so much for listening to my tree ghost story in episode 2 of One Incense Stick. And anyone who has more mysterious, more captivating stories. Please send those stories to my email. I hope that... What is this? Oh my God. There. This is a companion who's been with me, echoing the part at the beginning of the story, then sliding back and forth, falling up and down. Hope it's not dead. This companion has made it through 2 episodes now. Hope it still has life left to accompany the next episodes because wow, so exhausting, so painful. It's jumping. Jui jui jui, poor thing. Actor Huang Fuk, everyone, thank you all so very much. Remember to send your stories to the program. Bye-bye. See you again.